Hello, friends. My name is David Trotter. I'm the founder and publisher of Awaken Magazine, and I'm so excited to be here today with, let me count, six of our illustrious authors of Awakened Hearts. This week, we've been launching this brand new book, and I just realized I'm flipped. Let me flip the camera so you can actually see the name of the book correctly when I hold it up. This is the hard copy version. We've got an ebook, hard copy, and paperback version of this incredible book. It is an anthology book that includes 32 stories of awakening that feature 32 conscious leaders, healers, coaches, seekers who are sharing their story of transformation, healing, and awakening. And I'm so excited about the feedback of the book, as well as just those of you who are leaving Amazon reviews. I think we've almost got 50 as of today. And that was a goal that I had set, just because, as you know, people look at those Amazon reviews and it kind of determines whether you want to pick up something that you're not sure. What is this all about? And so super excited. If you want to pick up the book, you can do that at awakenedheartsbook.com. awakenedheartsbook.com, and that will take you to the Amazon page where all three of those versions are available. I'll share it with you a little bit more about the book in a second in terms of the interior, but the vision behind it was, over the course of the last year, as I've been interviewing so many people for Awaken Magazine and just talking to people about their stories, I'm hearing these incredible stories of awakening. And oftentimes they're not just one-time story. It's something that's unfolding, multiple times over the course of our life. And I kept thinking to myself, I want more people to hear these stories. I don't want to just be the one who's hearing them. I want more people. And so I began to dream about a way to put these in the form of a chapter in a book so that we could get this book into the hands of women and men who are asking the question, is this all there is in life? Is this it? A lot of us start to ask that question at midway points in life, or maybe when we hit a bump in the road, a challenge, whether it's bankruptcy, divorce, job loss, child loss, whatever it might be. And we start to really ask questions of, how do we navigate this life? How do we experience healing? And then there are those of us who are having these intuitive experiences where we're going, what do I do with this? What's happening to me? And so we have got so many amazing stories that you read this book, you are going to have multiple stories that will function and act like a mirror for your own life, where you go, wow, okay, I'm not the only one. Jen experienced this. John experienced this. Christina, if they can get through that, if they can experience this, then I can as well. So the goal is that you would be inspired, you would be healed, and that you would also feel a connection to these authors, so that you would ultimately reach out, tell them, hey, thanks for sharing your story. And is there a way that you might be able to help me as well? Many of them are available to support you and encourage you along the journey of your own life and your own awakening. So I'm excited today to just hear from some of our authors. And so let me bring them in here. We've got Marlou Harris, Jen Dickens, Michelle Marie Nares, Nina Palmieri, John Klug, and Christina Valle Park. And so I want to take just a few minutes for you guys to introduce yourself, maybe just share where you're connecting from in the world and how you serve our world, humanity. And that could be, you might be a full-time conscious leader, healer, coach. Maybe you have a day job that you do alongside that, where you're serving our world in a different way. We'd love to hear briefly about it. So Marlou, would you mind going first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Marlou Harris. I am located in Santa Monica, California. And what I do is I work multidimensionally, guiding high functioning seekers to the path back to oneness, wholeness, divine source. And I am disguised as a psychotherapist. So I've been licensed as a psychotherapist for 30 years. So I still do some of that work, but I've really transitioned into this more spiritual work. I work in the Akashic Records and with hypnosis, and also just it informs what I do. And I'm a light language channel. That's something that's come through in the last 2 years. So I'm just growing and expanding, and I'm reaching out to people who want to grow and expand in the personal harmonic me, which I call the PH Me program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marlu. It
Absolutely.
is great to have you. Great to see you undercover. Yeah, you're undercover, but today you're kind of coming out and going, okay,
It's actually, you're right. Actually, it's just really a new kind of awakening and stepping into my truth and authenticity and who I really am
I love
in
it.
terms of
Thank you for
serving.
being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jen Dickens, and I'm also coming from Santa Monica, California. And I am Six Heart Illuminations founder, Heart Math certified coach and mentor, and Reiki master. And I support people in awakening, purifying, and illuminating their hearts so that they can live life lighthearted, so that they can really surrender and let go anything they no longer supports their overall well-being, so that as they're living life a little bit more lighthearted, they can bring back love and joy into their heart. They can start discovering who they really are as expressions of the divine, as expressions of love. They can start embodying self-love, self-care, and more love for others. And so I support people in this process, and it has really made my heart sing. And as you'll read in my story, I have an extensive corporate background, but I've been doing this work now for almost 10 years, and it just makes my heart sing. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here. Michelle, tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Marie Nyers. I'm tuning in today from my home in Annapolis, Maryland. And I really, when I describe the work that I do, I like to start by saying that I fell in love with this idea that self-image really shapes our reality and the kind of life that we can really experience while we're here. And so I fell in love with this idea, got obsessed with this idea, and now I help, mostly women I always say that it's never too late to rewrite the story, the beautiful story of you. So the work that I do, everything I write about, everything I teach about, the work that I do with my private coaching clients, all has that at the heart, where we do the deep inner work and outer work to really start to rewrite that image. Because unfortunately, a lot of us carry around these, what I like to call a false identity or a mistaken identity that got developed, through our experience being here as humans on this planet. And we really go to work on, being the author of our own story and creating that intentionally. And it's my passion work. It's the work I think I was meant to do. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Michelle. Nina, tell us about yourself.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone. I'm Nina Palmieri, and I am coming where I am right now. I'm in the Sedona, Arizona area, and I'm a founder of a New Earth Movement, and that is it's a nonprofit organization. And really what it is, it's a platform for people to enter into a sphere to have an opportunity to awaken to your soul's purpose, to your original blueprint, and to really to find a way to access your authenticity and to come into your purpose so that you can move out into the world and really co-create a New Earth movement at this time on the planet. And there's many offerings that I do myself personally through that. I do spiritual counseling. I do facilitate really deep healings. I lead community prayers and power journey retreats to sacred sites and ceremonies and rituals, and really to help people to come in to become empowered and to learn how to really accept themselves and to be more in love. So it's a big journey, and my path is probably everyone here. my journey of seeking brought me to my own discovery of the divine. And so I have passion to bring that to the world, to help everyone to know that we're not separate. So,
Wonderful. Thank you, Nina. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the work that you're doing. John, the first other male who has been on our live streams, thank you for showing up on the final day.
Yes, good to be here. Thanks, David. So my name is John Klug, and I am currently a nomad, meaning that I travel full-time in my RV. And so I'm currently in Minneapolis, Minnesota, visiting my kids who live here, my adult kids, and just moved away from San Diego. So with the Californians and the West Coast people. So what I do is I'm a channel, right? And I channel for my higher self. And he likes to call himself Jonathan. And Jonathan is a name that everyone can identify with, right? If he didn't have a name, or if he had multiple names, it would become very unclear, who he was. But he's the focal point for all the amassed knowledge, wisdom, experiences of my higher self, all the personalities that I've lived in the past, present, future, here, and in other planes, right? And Jonathan's purpose is to come as a teacher. And so he helps people to get a better understanding, some perspective on their issues in their life, to suggest alternatives, different ways of thinking, different ways of looking at things. And he constantly harps on this idea of following your heart's desire. And what Jonathan says about your heart's desire is that this is your connection to your soul or your higher self. As you become aware of what it is that your heart's desire is, and you begin to live that, then this is where your joy comes in. This is where your sense of purpose comes in. And so Jonathan is always encouraging people to remember what their heart's desire is and begin to live that. So many people in our culture are they're kind of schooled to think that, they have to go to school, they have to get a good job, they have to get married and have, 2.5 children and so on and so forth, right? And yet at the same time, they're not paying attention to their heart's desire. So that's what Jonathan is here to do. And I'm the instrument through which he does that work.
Wonderful. Thank you, John, for being with us. All right. And John, you just picked up a brand new website, channelingnomad.com. Is that right?
It's, let's see. I'm trying to, because there's the two different websites.
Or is it nomadchanneler.com?
Yeah, Nomadic Channeler.
I love that.
So it's like digital nomad. So channeling nomad is the.
I love that. That's fun. Very fun. Good to be with you. Christina, it is great to see you, my friend. Tell us about you, where you're coming from, how you're making an impact in the world.
Hi, David and everybody. Congratulations for the big achievement. Amazing writers. And David, thank you for showing me all this technology about signing in here, logging in here. And it's a little difficult for me, but thank you so much for guiding us through this book. Christina Valle Park, like I said, I'm a CEO and partner of California Recyclers. That's my full-time job. And in the spiritual world, I consider myself a half-time captain. When you're doing life and you're like, okay, time up, what's happening in my life? And that's where I come, and my husband and I come. We're doing this only for friends and family. We started not too long ago, maybe 2 years and a half ago. Friends and family only, nobody else. But people need a life review and definitely a redirection of, what they're really doing, what they really want in life. And we're doing it through different, meditation, listening, ceremonies, passing the information I collect from all of you and from other people that I think ring true to me, because when you are going at the spiritual path and you're getting a little bit higher in the level, I think, there is other levels of truth that come to you, and what truth to sink in. So that's what I pass. And that's what I consider myself, the half-time captain.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christina. Good to have you with us. All right. Well, hey, I want to draw everyone's attention to the book itself. And you can pick up the book at awakenedheartsbook.com. And inside the book, You'll notice on the inside front and left dust jacket, you'll see all of the wonderful photos of the 32 authors that are featured in the book. And inside, you'll also find a great photo of them at the beginning of the chapter, because we want you to get to know the author. And then at the end of the chapter, you'll notice that you can read more about them in terms of their bio, a little bit about their life, their service, their website, their Instagram or social media, and then a QR code where you can easily scan that in order to get in touch with that author. I know authors will love hearing from you about the power of their story and how it impacted them, and encourage you to reach out to them. They are also, many of them, available to serve you in some capacity with their gifts. As you heard these 6 leaders sharing about how they are making a difference in the world, and they're available to help you with that as well. I want to talk about this idea of experiencing an awakening. I have loved this term awaken for many, many years. It's a word that I have used in my own business life. I had Awaken Media as the company that produced and directed my, or the name that I utilized as I produced and directed 4 films around social issues. And so it's just been a part of my life for many, many years. And when we started talking about an online magazine to amplify the voices of conscious leaders, healers, and coaches, I was like, I want to use this term awaken. And so then you kind of go on the website, the URL domain search of like, what's going to work, what's not taken already. And people are like, how did you choose Awaken Magazine? I'm like, because the website was available. That's pretty much the reason why. Plus, I wanted to use the term awaken. But I believe that many of us have just our own take on what does it mean to experience an awakening or be awakened. And so I'd love to hear from each one of you. Nina, would you mind getting us started with, from your perspective, what does it mean to be awakened or experience an awakening?
Sure. I love the question. Well, for me, to be awakened is to recognize that we are more than who we've been trained to believe that we are. We're beyond the mind. We're beyond the body, we're beyond the emotions. And it's having an opportunity, like you were talking earlier, to kind of these experiences we have, there's like a crack in the illusion. It's like the veil is lifted, and we get to experience love. We get to experience the divine. We get to experience the truth of who we are. And there's unity there. We see that there's no separation. We see that there's the oneness of all of creation, and it's empowering, it's uplifting, it's joyful, it's moving beyond the veil and expanding into the openness of our divinity, and that there's so much more. It's like we're living in this 3D world where there's we've been sleepwalking, and so awakening is awakening to what is true, seeing the world for what it is, not seeing it through the eyes of the story, but for what it is. And that brings more acceptance, more peace, more compassion, and more love.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jen, tell us from your perspective, what does it mean to be awakened, experience an awakening?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, David, because it is one of the most important processes. And like Nina was mentioning, it is like a lifting of the veil. It's an internal process of remembering who we really are. And because so many of us are trying to figure out, who am I? Who am I? What's my purpose? But before we look at our purpose, we need to know who we are, what we are as a being. What does that mean? So it's a real lifting of the veil, a remembering of who we are. We are so much more than we think we are, like Nina was mentioning. And we're an expression of love, we're an expression of divine, but beyond emotions, beyond love, beyond just being a formidable force. Love is a state of being. So stepping into ourselves and as a being of love and so much more. And what does that mean? And we're using words when we speak, and we're using words on these beautiful pages of Awakened Hearts, but it's a realization within our own heart, a remembering of who we are. And to me, that's what awakening is that internal knowing, that remembering, oh my God, this is who I am. And like even just expressing it is giving me chills, you know. And when we have this awakening, we have this state of ease that uh, and a calmness that it's like a wave that washes over us when we start remembering who we are. And then from there we can um, uh, just explore and discover what makes us heart sing, like John was saying, to live from our heart's desires. But we have to go through a process, in an internal process, to get there. So for me, that is the awakening, and it unfolds, and it's not all. For some people, it can be like a all at one time, like lightning. But for most people, it's a lifting of the veil. It's a peeling of the onion. It's a more gradual process.
Beautiful. It seems like the more we remember who we are, then there's that, at least for me, I should take ownership and say less striving, right? Less trying to develop my identity from the things outside of me or to get the approval of other people. It can feel that then a sense of like a bit of a relaxing. Talk to us, Marlu, about from your perspective, what does it mean to be awakened or experience awakening?
Well, for me, it really means that I'm not alone, that you are never alone. And I was in such a dark place when in this dream, an old boyfriend said, "Don't fall asleep now." And in the dream, I was falling asleep, right? And I didn't, and so I started pursuing the meaning of this dream. Why did he come to me? You know, this was a long time ago. And I just didn't recognize it at the time. But as I started pursuing more the meaning of the dream, it kept pointing back to me. The meaning is about you to wake up to knowing that I'm never alone and there's always someone there. And for me, it happened to be a spiritual, you know, a deceased loved one coming in, giving me this message. So for me, awakening is awakening to the truth, yes, of what everyone said of who we really are, who I really am. I have no reason to focus on the despair and the solitude and the isolation, because there is that divine source that I am always connected to. And as Wayne Dyer says, who I've been listening to recently, that we are all God. We are all parts of God. It's like we are, you know, a child of God and part of God, part of spirit, of the universe. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, thank you, Marlu. John, share with us from your perspective, what does it mean to be awakened or experiencing awakening?
Well, based on the experiences that I've had in life, awakening means to become self-aware, right? This is what happened to me when I was in my 20s. I went through this workshop and I became aware of what my beliefs were, both ones that I was conscious of, and then I became more conscious of beliefs that I was unconscious of. I became aware of my preferences, my habits, all the parts of me that I perhaps was ignoring or not acknowledging or not really considering were parts of me that I was bringing to my life and my relationships. So this was a self-awareness journey. So awakening became about being more and more aware of my characteristics, right? The things that make me who I am. And as more and more of that came to the forefront, then I began to realize that there were even more subtle aspects of myself, my being. And that then opened me up to intuition. It opened me up to communication with ultimately my higher self, and really becoming more fully me, as opposed to sort of like this caricature or cartoon that I had created of myself from my childhood, right? As I become an adult, I've become more fully me in all the aspects of me. And that process continues.
Thank you for sharing that. On a lighter note, I'm just going to give you the award for winning the shirt that matches the book in the live stream today. There's always somebody who's matching the book. And I'm like, John wins today. Yeah. Although my
Funny.
shirt, I don't know if you can see it, I've got the matching
Got
shirt.
the heart.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yes, I've got my grandma's shirt on. I like it. Thank you for sharing that, John. That is really profound. Christina, would you mind sharing your perspective on this?
Yes, I agree with everybody. For me, just like to make a distinction for myself, which is knowing that, and when you start acting from that point of view, right? Knowing that we're all one, knowing also that we're responsible for everything, knowing that life is a school, knowing that we're eternal, and then I think it's the basic, and then having the spiritual gifts, all the mystic, and all of that for me is being awakened. But number one is you're attracted to the things that are gonna allow you to form the concept and act on it. Right now, I'm acting on it as I'm one, as I'm responsible from everything, as everybody's innocent. But sometimes we forgot all of that and we just go into the drama. So it's a distinction too much. Just wanted to make it like that.
Okay, so you said once you become aware to
Mhm.
act on that. So I'm curious from your perspective, as the veil has been lifted, as someone said, and I'm becoming aware of who I am, what are the ramifications in my day-to-day life of this awareness?
Yeah, so one of them that is super cool that I remember most of the time, but sometimes I conveniently forget that everybody's innocent, right? When I'm having a small misunderstanding with somebody, I had to remember that they are acting for their own fear and they are also going through the same things that I'm going through. And maybe number two, that they are a fragment of my soul. Actually, it's been shown to me that my closest family members, they carry part of the soul that couldn't go into myself because it was too heavy to carry. So especially the people with I had had the most challenges are the people that I let them carry, outsource, the lessons that were for me. And so just to remember that and have love and compassion. I have it most of the time. Sometimes I am fully human and awake.
Thank you for sharing, Christina. Michelle, last but not least, you
Oh,
better
boy.
have something unique to say. Don't cop out and go like, well, I just agree with what all they said. They said some great things. Come on, bring something unique, Michelle.
They all said amazing things, and of course they did, because you all are amazing. Yeah, what I was contemplating as I was listening to everyone is it's definitely I definitely see it personally as this journey. While things can happen in the moment, there's like all of these moments that I think add up to this idea of awakening, and there's so much that goes into it. But for me personally, um, this idea that really cracked me open was realizing that I wasn't just this human body walking around having this physical experience, although that's part of the whole purpose for being here in this physical vehicle, this vessel. But this idea that I'm a spiritual being having that experience. It sounds like such a subtle shift, but when you start living from that belief, everything looks different, I think. And so that was one thing I was thinking about as I was contemplating this idea of awakening, and just really being open to that, showing up in different ways, because I think we all have a different purpose and a different path, a different blueprint for why we're here. And so that awakening process, I think, is also a learning, an understanding, and a divine truth telling of what that is. I also feel like it's this shedding of the things that are not truly who we are. So almost like a subtraction process happening,
Mhm.
right? We talk about peeling the layers back, but I think it's shedding the layers, the things that aren't really us,
Hmm.
and just letting those ideas go so that the truth of who we are can really shine through in everything that we do. And that to me is my personal idea of what awakening really is.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
I am so inspired by all of the different ways that our authors have shared that there's this waking up. And I think that that's why that question for me of what are the ramifications in one's life. And I know that many of you are helping people navigate the ramifications, because once you have that realization, Michelle, of like, wait, I'm not just this physical being, I'm a spirit. Wait, okay, well, what are the ramifications to that? How, as you said, Christina, I take responsibility for my life. And now how can I actually create my life, like intentionally create my life? How can I become aware of what are my desires, as you said, John, not just the desires of my home of origin or my boss or my partner? How do I become aware that, oh, I'm connected to the divine? Wait, I'm connected to everything and everyone. What are the ramifications to all this about how I treat other people, how I treat myself, how I treat my body, how I treat the earth? Christina, aka Queen of Recycling. How do I treat animals? Like all of it? What are the possibilities? Is it possible that there are no limitations in my mind, like in reality? Whoa, right? And I love that you're telling this story, your stories, of course, in the book itself. So I would love to talk for a moment about your own process of writing your chapter. And it's interesting, for all 32 of you had different experiences. For some, it was super easy. For others, it was a little challenging. I'd love to hear about your experience of writing your chapter, and also your writing process. How does that work for you? And just briefly, share this with us. Jen, would you mind going first?
Sure, of course. Thank you, David. This was a really cool process because I'm actually in the middle of completing my full-length book, and then this opportunity came up, and I've been teaching Awakening Heart Wisdom for like 5-6 years now. And when this opportunity to be part of Awakened Hearts book, I was like, oh my God, I have to be a part of this. This is everything I'm about and everything that I do day in and day out, and everything that I'd been writing about in my other book. And so when it was specific, each chapter is about what is your personal awakening story. Because my awakening has been so gradual over the last 20, 25 years, I have so many awakening stories in the sense of they're like little realizations, little self-realizations. And each time I'm shedding, like Michelle, I'm shedding who I think I am, and stepping more into who I really am. But I chose a story which I felt was very, very unique because, and it came out of meditation. So everything I do always starts with my morning sadhana, my morning meditation, my introspection, going inward and allowing and creating the beauty of love, peace, and harmony within myself, within my heart, connecting with my heart, getting out of my head. Because, right, first thing when we wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, what do I have to do today? I've got these appointments, I've got these calls, I've got this. So I take that time to just get out of my head, drop into my heart, create some balance. And this unique story came out because it was so profound. It was such a profound experience that literally I physically felt this awakening process, this energetic injection of love and movement in my heart. And I'm like, I should share this because sometimes when people have these very physical experiences of the unseen world, they keep it to themselves. And they're afraid to say anything because they think that people will think they're crazy and that they're making it up. And I want people to know it's okay if you have an experience with the unseen world and it completely transforms your life. You should be able to share that. And some people will get it, most people won't, but it's okay. It's okay. It is something that is a major part of your awakening. And so I chose to share that story.
Thank you, Jen. Jen, just real briefly, how do you find that writing is that flows for you? Is a particular location or style, or just real briefly?
I actually start out of meditation. So sometimes I might have my writing journal there and I might write what comes up for me in meditation, or I'll sit in my living room and I'll have my writing journal. I prefer to write it out because I feel there's a connection between our heart and our brain and our physical body, and then I'll put it into the computer. That's my physical process personally.
Yeah, I've heard that from several people during our live stream. So, Nina, talk to us about your writing process. What was it like to write this chapter, as well as just your own process of writing itself?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it was really a flow, and very quick and simple. And we're talking about awakening, and it's like, I feel like when we have more of an awakening of the veil, we live more from perception. I was just kind of contemplating this, and so I got the prompt that was sent to kind of send a sentence or two about an awakening, and it just kind of came out, and I just knew it was right, and everything happened boom, 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 and then I chose to go more in depth and write the chapter. And it was very powerful. It was something that happened in 1993, and it was a little bit of a vulnerable story to share because it involved all of my family members, and where everybody has a different experience, right, and their own point of view of how they experience something. And I came out in the way that it impacted me and actually changed my life. And so that part was a little vulnerable, but so powerful. And I wrote about my uncle's death, his sudden death, and how it impacted our family, and how, I had an awakening in the process. And I'll just have to say this because this was the synchronicity of the divine, is that on June 23rd, when the book was launched, was the anniversary of my uncle's passing. And, it was just, he came to me again, and it was just so moving just to follow the lead and the impetus to be vulnerable and put that out there. And that I know that story it's beyond me. It's for the world to hear how the impact of death is an impact with the truth, and how we can wake up to love. So it was all those things, but it was like one big musical note. It just went boom. It was, sometimes it's not easy to write something. It's like you have to move away and come back, but it just came right through. So it was quite a process, and I'm honored to be part of it.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for sharing. Nina was supposed to be on our live stream on Monday, and we had some technical issues.
Yeah.
We were hoping that she would have been there for that anniversary, but just to honor your uncle's memory and honor your story. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing it. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marlu, would you mind sharing about what was it like for you to write this chapter, and a little bit about your own writing process?
Absolutely. So first of all, writing to me has always been a healing journey, almost always. So in terms of journaling, writing down, writing dreams, now I dictate my dreams. But anyway, I came out of 3 years of writing a memoir that I titled The Accident, about an accident I was in. It was like a coming of age memoir. So I spent 3 years of UCLA extension courses and this workshop and that workshop. So I was listening to writers and going to writers conferences and learning all this about writing. And then I was putting so much energy into that. I thought, where's my life going? And I because it was so isolating, the writing, hours and hours and hours and hours. So so I put it on the shelf actually. So it's kind of on the shelf. I'm not sad about it being on the shelf. It's just waiting whether I'm going to breathe more life into it. So when this opportunity came up, I said, okay, I can write a chapter. I can write a chapter. And so, but my writing process is kind of grueling, honestly. It's liberating, but yet it's also grueling because I will get into it and hours will go by but what I have found really helps is reading it out loud. Just reading it out loud to myself. How does it sound? How does it flow? And sometimes just reading a paragraph out loud and I'll say there's just something wrong. It doesn't flow that well. So that's what I learned and what has helped, I think, from all these writing courses where we would read pieces of our work. And that's what I was thinking of as I was talking about that. That would be really cool for all of us to read our chapters, to each other or have small groups and read things. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marlu. That's actually one of the, as we're getting ready to invite people to step into book number 2. And for those of you who aren't aware, the vision behind the book, it starts with a number 1 here, because I really have a vision, a large vision for seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories of awakening being told. And I know this might sound a little bit crazy. It's like when you're vulnerable with a vision as you're vulnerable with stories. The series that inspired me in many ways is Chicken Soup for the Soul. Although that is quite dated now in a lot of ways, it was, large in the 90s. It was very inspirational. And the point is pulling all of these stories of inspiration together, but I want it to be a personal, like your story, And so, anyway, as we are embarking on inviting more authors into the second book, one of the ideas that I had, Marlu, was, gosh, I need to get these individuals in little triads, so that they could be connecting during the process, reading their chapter to one another, finding inspiration, encouragement, just getting to know each other. So that's going to be a part of the second round. I just come up with new ideas as new things unfold. So thank you for sharing that, Marlu. Yeah.
Yes, and I'd like to share one other thing. This dream that instigated or motivated my awakening. Chicken Soup for the Soul had a topic of dreams one time. They have these topics and then you write something and send it in, right? So 1 year after that, I had written this story of the dream and where it had gotten me so far. And I submitted it to Chicken Soup for the Soul. It wasn't accepted, but I felt like it just felt good to do it. And I went back and read it before writing and I thought, I can see why it wasn't accepted. It's not that captivating the way I wrote it and everything. And it was still so new. And so now I'm 10 years out and I can have such a greater perspective. But yeah, that was my Chicken Soup of the Soul experience.
Oh, well, I'm glad they didn't accept it because it got to be in our book.
Me too, because it wasn't that good.
Maybe an audible version of Awakened Hearts, where we each read our stories and
Yes.
our own voice.
Yes.
That would be really unique.
That would be very unique. Yep. John, tell us about your process of writing your chapter, your writing in general.
Well, I have to say, David, that I found it very challenging. I consider myself, or I operate as if I'm a very private person, right? That's the story that I have about myself. And to open up and be vulnerable, to, tell the truth about what happened in my life was, that's not something that I would rush to do. So what I did is I started out by saying, okay, Jonathan, help me out with this. And so we basically just did a dump on all the things that led up to who I am now. And it was tens of thousands of words, right? And it's like, well, this doesn't work because I can only use 2,000 of those words. So I went back and then it was just a process of taking the high points or the important points of what came out with that session with Jonathan and just writing it all in one sitting. So I think it took me 3 or 4 hours to actually write the chapter once I sat down to do it. And it flowed pretty well. And then I was thinking, as I looked back on it, what do people want to hear? And would people be shocked by what I wrote? And would they understand what I'm writing? And I have no idea. I'm just putting it together and tossing it out into the world and hoping that it makes sense to somebody.
What's so fascinating to hear you say that, like, oh, are people going to be shocked? I mean, I've had almost, I don't want to say every single author, but quite a few go, this is really personal, or this feels really vulnerable, or this is going to freak people out because it's a weird story, you know? And what's so funny is as I read the stories, I'm not, there's no sense of shock or criticism or judgment. The result is connection and empathy. It's always just connection and empathy. Like, wow, I feel so connected to John now that I know his story like more. I feel so connected to Jen, right? It's connection and empathy. Now, if somebody's reading it from the perspective of judgment or criticism, they're going to bring that, but they're probably not going to, I don't know, they're probably not going to pick up the book. So I just think it's so fascinating how we have that story in our head. And this does not in any way degrade, downgrade what you experienced, the depth of the pain or the vulnerability or the uniqueness of the experience. It's just like, oh, I feel so connected to them. And that's ultimately what, we want the readers to feel, is to connect it, to go, oh man, if Marlu can navigate that, then I can get through that, or if I had some unique experiences like John's had. Okay, I can talk to him about my unique experiences and he'll understand. So good stuff. Christina, talk to us about what was it like writing your chapter and your own writing process.
Yes, for sure. I want to add what you were saying, David, about Awaken, just when you were putting together all our answers. Don't forget about your life crumbling after awakening. It happens a lot. People change boyfriends, husbands, friends. They don't change family members. I think they recycle them. And at the end of the day, most likely you will find healing in another lifetime. Hopefully for me, all of the healing for family members will be in this lifetime. But I think life crumbles when you awaken, right? When you realize that you are not who you thought you were. And you are no longer had to defend the fake facade that you had. And yeah, definitely. I've seen that plenty, and I have a little bit of my fair share. For me, I participated in another book last year. So when Mandy, you guys sent that opportunity, I was like, okay, I did last year. I don't have no interest. And a friend wanted to do it. So I sent it to her and said, go ahead and apply. But I think when you're generous, life is generous back to you. I went to Bahamas, like my chapter said, and out there I was like, oh my God, this is what I had to write, right? It came through whispering of the angel saying, go to Bahamas. Basically, for me, that was how I take it. And at the airport, I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I just texted Mandy and say, I'm writing the book. So it was a flow. I think it was a tremendous flow. And what it was also amazing is, having the support of, the editors and things like that, that will help you construct something that it's not perfect. But for me, flow, whatever I give you guys, it was a flow. Now to make an entire book might be a little bit challenging, but so far it was very cool to like almost finish in one sitting in the whole plane. Then I had to tweak something, a little bit with your advice, whatever the seminars we were attending. But it was pretty easy for this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Michelle, what was it like writing your chapter?
I would say it was equal parts challenging and very healing and amazing experience. So I had a lot of resistance at first because I didn't know which story I wanted to tell. And so I was sharing with a couple of close friends my dilemma. Like, I have no idea. Like, I signed up for this, I applied, and now I have to write this chapter. And their response was kind of funny because it's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the story that you have to write. Like, this is the story, the thing that you've been talking about, and so I had a little resistance at first, and then I needed that reflection back, I think, to go, okay, yeah, this is the story. This is a story I never wanted to tell. And so, I got the divine nudge as well that, okay, now it's time. It's time for this story to come out. And so
Mhm.
there was a little resistance. The challenge for me in the writing process, I think, was really once I decided what I wanted to write, I also knew that that was an awakening that kind of happened over the course of close to 4 decades. So, and it's still happening. And so to try to determine how I was going to tell that story in an impactful way, um, it was a good challenge, the best kind of challenge as a writer. And so once I sat down and really determined what the sort of the different pieces of it were, it flowed really easily. And I do my best writing when I'm out walking or anywhere but in front of my computer. So I have to be moving or just contemplating something else. And then I'll get these sort of divine downloads that say, oh, you could say it this way, or you could share it in this way, and it will make an impact. So yeah, that was, there was a lot more to it, but that's in a nutshell what my process was like.
Wonderful.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, I want to remind everyone that the book is available at awakenedheartsbook.com, and it's available in Kindle, hardback, and paperback. I have a paperback and a hardback. I'm just going to tell you, the hardback is just so beautiful. It just feels so great in the hands, and I love looking at your guys' pictures on the inside, and it's wonderful to see all of your smiling faces in each one of the chapters and names on the back. I want to hear in like 2 sentences, what are your hopes for your chapter and for the book in general? What are your hopes as people are picking it up, reading it, it's getting out into the world? Michelle, would you mind starting for us?
Sure. My hope is that the stories reach exactly who they need to reach. And I hope that is far and wide, and that we, touch the hearts and souls of the people who really need to hear those stories.
Wonderful. How about you, Marlou? What are your hopes for your chapter in the book? Oh, before you answer that, Marlou, Michelle, I want to give people an opportunity to hear where they can connect with you and follow your work. Where's your website? What's the best social media platform for them to connect with you on?
Sure. The best place to go is michellemarienayers.com, and you can also find me at that handle on Instagram.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
michellemarienayers.com. And as I have mentioned previously, if you need all of the contact information, it's right in the book itself. Each chapter has their contact information at the back of their chapter. Marlou, what are your hopes for your chapter as people are reading it, and for the book in general?
Okay. Well, I have this deck of oracle cards that I created, and I picked a card for myself at the beginning because I was a little nervous. And the card says, I am unstoppable, fearless, and free. And I would love everybody to have that feeling, because when you put out your heart's desire, you put it out on paper, it gets into the world. It's such an amazing feeling. So this gave me a lot, at the beginning of the call.
I love that. I am unstoppable, fearless, and free. That felt so good when you said that. That was really good. Marlou, where can people connect with you and follow your work and reach out to you?
Absolutely. Marlou Harris. And it's Marlu.
Marlou.
Harris. So many people think it's supposed to be Mary Lou or something else. So that's why I spell it. But marluharris.com, my website, Instagram, the same, Facebook, it's all Marlou Harris. And I did get myphme.com URL. You're talking about URLs. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I got the URL.
That's great. That's great. I own all my family members' website URLs, and they don't do anything with them. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all these? But maybe someday they will want it. I keep
Yeah,
paying
you're
that.
like me. I collect them.
Yeah. Like $15 a year, every year on GoDaddy for. I'm going to start sending them a bill for owning their URL. John, what are your hopes for your chapter and for the book in general?
Well, my hope is that people begin to really take to heart this idea of living their heart's desire, right? And through my examples of, the difficulties that I faced, I did stay true to that, even though it took decades, right? And I'm hoping that people will understand from what I wrote that their dreams are possible, and the quickest way to the realization of those dreams is to do all the things that are required for you to live your heart's desire. So that's my message.
Thank you, John. And where can people connect with you online?
So I have a website called jonathan456.org, and Jonathan is spelled a little differently. It's JONATHON. It's normally AN, but JONATHON 456.org. And then at some point in time, I'm going to also have the channelingnomad.com website, point to jonathan456.org. So people can go to either one of those.
Sounds good. That takes 5 minutes to do, John. Come on, just point it.
Just do it already. Okay.
Christina, what are your hopes for your chapter and for the book?
For the book to become a new chicken soup. I think we can do it. Definitely. I think it's time. And I think we'll contribute for a massive awakening of the world, people to realize who really are and leave government and church, on the side, structure, just take the Wi-Fi and connect directly with God, because we're the essence. Yeah.
Where can people connect with you?
Fine. I have Instagram, C Valle Park. That's where you can follow me.
Yes. And if people are in Southern California and need some recycling, who do they call?
Yes, we are a B2B, and we work in Fontana, and we have to be, in a radio so we can reach them out. But definitely, we are the solution.
Yes, in Fontana, B2B. Yeah, they're not coming to your house to pick up your cans. All right, they're coming to your business to pick up mountains of cardboard.
Yes.
Yes. Good. Speaking of Chicken Soup for the Soul, I will tell you, I already have plans for book number 3 that would come out early next year, and that will be the first book with a more of a theme. This next book will still be around stories of awakening, and based on what we talked about, I really see that so much of this awakening, the ramifications are in every aspect of our life. And so it's not just a spiritual awakening, but it's an awakening to our physicality, it's awakening to our relationships, it's awakening to our purpose. And so I do see different themes being highlighted in the months to come. So Nina, talk to us about your hopes for the book, your chapter. Yeah.
My desire is for when people read it, that they have an impact with the truth, that somehow they can find the threads of truth that are weaved in there, can find within themselves their truth and unlock that coding, so that they can recognize, have that reflection and have an aha and an opening and more inspiration to be empowered and to wake up and to be part of this time on the planet for the awakening. So inspiration and understanding that we are the truth when they read these chapters, because sometimes we forget, so that this would inspire them to wake up. And I think it's a brilliant idea, David, what you're doing. It's just amazing. And so I pray and hold the space that this gets out there to the world on
Thank you.
beyond what we could imagine at a critical time on the planet, to create a ripple, a wave of awakening and inspiration to seize our life and take responsibility and move in the direction of love and truth.
Thank you, Nina.
Yeah.
Where can people connect with you and the movement that you're starting?
It's been around for a while. It's a newearthmovement.org. It's spelled out, and that's my website and YouTube channel and Instagram and social media. And on there is tons of things. And one of the things I forgot to say, forgive me for saying it now, but I feel inclined. But I teach a lot of wisdom teachings, Toltec wisdom inspired awareness teachings, and to reach more people for awakening. So that's all on there in our mentorship program. And if you can't find us, if you can't figure out the New Earth Movement, you could find me on social media too, just by my name, Nina Palmieri, and I'll get you to the right spot.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. And Jen, talk to us about your hopes for your chapter and for the book.
Yeah, David, the timing of Awakening Hearts book coming out is flawless, because we are in the big awakening. Humanity is going through this huge awakening. There's a lot of people that are confused. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's happening to them. It's been going on for some time, but we're really stepping into it full force right now. And I feel that this book will help people understand that they're not the only one going through this, that others are going through it, have been going through it for some time, that they're not crazy, that everything is okay, everything's going to be just fine. And so I feel this book will set people at ease, but also inspire them. I'm hoping it inspires them to continue exploring this age of the heart that we're really stepping into. And, we've been improving our intellect and our intelligence for this entire decade, since the early 1900s, and, for hundreds of years now. But hey, let's tap into our heart wisdom. What's there, right? That's where our superpowers lies, in our heart wisdom, opening up to that, understanding that, creating coherence between our intellect and our wisdom, and using both, and coming from our full potentiality as spiritual beings having a human experience, as Michelle was saying, and really exploring, researching, digging into that inner world, because certainly, like, we're looking at going to Mars and other planets in our solar system. It's like, we don't even know what's going on in here in this physical body. And here we are, shooting rockets to trying to get us, out into our solar system, but with no understanding of the full potentiality of who we really are. So for my chapter, I hope it inspires people to want to dig deeper and really access more of their potentiality to really awaken their heart wisdom. And if they have a lot of heaviness on their heart, for me to work with them, or to tap into resources that I have available, to let go of what weighs heavy on their heart, so that they don't need to take that baggage, their pain, their suffering, their sorrow, their victimhood, whatever it is that's going on, that story, they don't need to carry it with them through the rest of their life. Like, we're here to enjoy life, to experience life joyfully, and the beauty of this creation, this universal creation. There's so much here to experience and enjoy. But when we're going through life with a heavy heart, it's, you can't see the trees and the sunshine, because you've got this cloud that you're carrying everywhere you go with you. So my hopes is I can support people in heart expansion, healing of the heart, and really exploring the deeper aspects of who we are as spiritual beings having a human experience. And they can reach me through my website is jendickens.com, and it's JENNDICKENS.com. And my Instagram handle is Awakening Heart Wisdom. So they can also find me there. So
Thank you so much, Jen. Appreciate that. Just as a reminder, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, awakenedheartsbook.com is where you can pick that up. That URL goes right to the Amazon page where you can pick up the Kindle version, the hardback, or the paperback. And would encourage you, ask you to leave an Amazon review after you dive into the book. That's a very easy way for you to help us spread the word about the book as people come to that page. Oftentimes, as you know, any product that we look at how many reviews does it have? What are the reviews? And so it's an easy way for you to help us kind of push people over the edge to pick up the book and read the stories, and also encourage you to share it with a friend to go, hey, you got to pick up this book. This is amazing. This is inspiring. So thank you guys so much for being here today. And Marlu has she has offered to share a short light language blessing for the book and our vision here at the end. And so before we sign off, Marlu, I want to invite you to provide that for us. Yeah.
All right. So it's a frequency. Isa baba anakarya sa ushiraba sa yata kata area sa kata irba shisha baba anakarya ta ka uria sa kata e shala baba anakasasu ishi kata baba anakaya sa te uria sa kata ba anake uria sa kaba anake ishakaba isa shase isa gaba isa sa she e gaba se kaya sa to unaba ayate.
Thank you so much, Marlu. We appreciate your support in that way. And thank you for each one of our authors joining us today. You guys are so inspiring. And thank you for those of you who are watching and listening. I encourage you to pick up the book and share it with a friend. All right. You guys have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Lots of love to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.